Alright, I'm going to go over the difference between the Ascension sets, and then I'm going to do a separate video for each set individually, looking through their cards and talking about their special abilities. In the base set, all it does is set up what is a deck builder, how do you manage play area, discard, draw, deck, hand, what the order of resolution of card effects is from top to bottom, and it sets up the Ascension world, where you have heroes that you're attempting to draft into your deck and recruit. You have 4 types of factions. You've got Enlightened, that's all about drawing or banishing from the center or killing things without needing to pay their cost, just instant kill effects. Then you've got your Mechana, which are all about buying power, a little bit of killing, and mostly just high value constructs. They're putting things that go into play and stay there for the whole game, unless destroyed by a monster. Then you've got your Void, which is all about killing power and banishing cards in your hand or discard. Some cards are specific to discard, others are more relaxed, but it's almost always hand or discard. Then you've got your Lifebound, which are buying power, direct points, special abilities like putting things on top of the deck, stacking the deck for the future turns. They're very powerful. They also have this Unite ability in almost every set, where if you play 2 Lifebound in the same turn, they get a bonus. In the base set, the only one that has that kind of effect is worded strangely in that it has to be specifically the second Lifebound you've played. In the future, they make it retroactive, where if you play or have played. And then we have Return of the Fallen. Okay, I guess I should talk about monsters. There are also these monsters that require power to defeat. There are always cultists available for a minimal amount of points, or you can kill big monsters for big honor value and some special ability. They might let you banish something from the center, destroy some of your opponent's constructs, banish things from your own hand or discard, all kinds of special abilities that those monsters may have. One even has the ability to draw cards, another has the ability to acquire or defeat something for free, really combo heavy with that one. It just sets up the theme for how Ascension's going to play. Then you have Return of the Fallen. This one adds some clever new mechanisms to it. It's a small set. The others are, this was about 100 cards, this is about a 60 card deck. It adds the ability to kill a big bad Samuel the Fallen. That's what the whole set is about, and if you kill him, you can now acquire monsters into your deck and get them to do all of the destruction for you. It's got more manipulation in the constructs, letting you stack the deck with a Lifebound construct. You've got cards that let you name the top card of your deck to gain direct points. Things that give more bonuses when you're killing monsters, but they're rather weak themselves. All kinds of special cards in here, but not very much changed. It still fits the basic idea of what they are. Storm of Souls. This one offers more banish from hand options with an additional benefit, as opposed to other ones that were just destroy something, it's not in your deck anymore. This is destroy something and gain a rune and gain a power. Things like that were a really cool addition. They also have things like banish something from your hand and draw a card to replace it. That's a really cool ability too, one of the better things. It introduces a cool 5-cost construct that's one of the most powerful in the game. I'll go over that later, but it lets you stack cards underneath it to draw others, essentially pseudo-banishing them. I feel like this set has some of the most manipulation for getting your deck size down to just what you want. Don't forget you have to actually have stuff in your deck, so if you buy all of these thinning cards, don't forget to buy at least a couple Mystics or Heavies or something else from the center so that your deck gets somewhere when it draws all these cards that are left. Just thinning your deck is not enough. Immortal Heroes is another small set, only 60 cards, but it added some of the most rules changes from anything. It introduced Soul Gems, and Soul Gems are things that certain heroes or monsters or different things allow you to do I need to back up for a second. Soul Gems reminded me, Storm of Souls introduced Fanatics, a new type of ever-ready monster. It also added events. When an event would have replaced a card in the center row, it instead replaces any current event if there is one, or comes into play as the new event, and changes the rules for that duration. Some of the cards have effects that they're more powerful when the event of the same faction is up. And you always have this Fanatic. If you have a Fanatic, you can only have one saved at a time. You can banish it back and put it back into the stack in order to gain some benefit based on the event. It's really cool. I like them. And the reason this made me think of it is these Soul Gems, some of them come from events. Other things have trophy monsters. Well, that's what a Fanatic was, is a trophy monster. A monster that you can put in front of you and then banish at some point to get a benefit. While Immortal Heroes adds more of those with more effects, they become really cool. Anyway, what a Soul Gem is you draw a card off of a special one-time use deck. It does not get shuffled into your deck at the end. It actually has a different back so that it's very easy to tell it doesn't belong in your deck. But it's one of the monster or one of the heroes from the base set. It can be anything from literally 1 rune, 1 honor, 1 rune or 1 power, one of those kind of pathetic guys, all the way up to Master Dartha and draw 3 cards. So there's a wide degree of variability in how good a Soul Gem is, but if you intend to use them throughout the game, you're eventually going to get some good ones. Really powerful, need to pay attention to them. Rise of Vigil is the next big set for year 3. It does some interesting things like energy. Energy and treasure are these things that when you're flipping from the center deck in order to replace, if you get a treasure card or an energy card, however you want to look at it, you put it face down on the stack like you normally would, but you keep flipping cards. So you might get 1, 2, none, 16 treasure in a stack before there's finally a card that gets placed on top. Whoever acquires or defeats that card gets all of the bounty for that treasure underneath it. The reason that these things are cool is when you play a treasure, it gives you an energy, a new type of resource that will power up and make your cards even better. It will also power up monster effects and give you better rewards based on what the monster was being killed. Some of these energize effects are really, really big, so you need to pay attention to those. Really advanced set. I recommend this to people who have played everything else first and then try it. It's got a lot of high-end tactics, but it's also got a lot of luck swing. It's one of the sets that is most frustrating to me when things just don't go your way in the beginning and your opponent went first or went right after a big stack of treasure hit the center row at the end of your turn. There's nothing you can do about that. It could very easily just take the skill away. But otherwise, to win consistently in Rise of Vigil, I would say might actually be the most skilled of all of the sets. You gotta balance that risk and reward. Then we have Darkness Unleashed, another little tiny 60 card set that added on to Rise of Vigil. It introduces Dark Energy. When a Dark Energy hits the center row, you get to banish something from your discard pile. This is again another one of those things that's a little misbalanced by the player position. If I play in position 1 and take my turn, and then I go flip something from the center, blah blah blah, my opponent goes, he buys from them something from the center, and a Dark Energy shard hits, I get to banish some of my starter cards right now, and he doesn't have a discard pile. It's a little bit unfair that it doesn't allow you to at least do it from hand, so you have the option to keep up and banishing. Otherwise, it's just more energize effect, more monsters. It introduces the very first transforms in the game. Transforms are when a certain condition is met, or when you defeat this monster, you flip it over. If you're using the double-sided cards and sleeves, or replace it with a different card if you're not. And it's an upgraded version of itself. It's worth more points. It has some really, really cool effect. If it's a hero that you just upgraded, you got to upgrade it that turn right into your hand. If it's a monster you defeated that turned into a hero, you get to just add it to your discard pile and play it later. The big baddie from this is Erebus, and he gets to turn into a hero and do things for you, like kill any monster in the void that's already been killed for free. Really powerful. Alright, next up is my absolute favorite, Realms Unraveled. The thing that Realms Unraveled does that's different is it keeps this transform effect from Darkness Unleashed going. There are more transform heroes. Most of them are if you've played the same faction, then they transform, or if you've played two of the same faction, then they transform. Things like that. Really, really enjoy those transforms. But the other thing is multi-faction heroes. Instead of just being Lifebound, Enlightened, Void, or Mechana, now they can be two. Maybe it's a Mechana Void, and it has both runes and a banish. Maybe it's Lifebound and Enlightened, and it has both runes and a banish from the center row. All kinds of cool things that can happen in this set, but everything encourages you to have a consistent deck. As more of the same faction as you can do, you start to get these unites off and do huge, huge effects. They also introduced the keyword multi-unite. This is one of the more broken things in all of Ascension because there's no limit to how many times it can go off. Obviously much bigger combos. Some people who really like balance in all things and like turns to always stay short, so there's never one player's playing for 5-10 minutes on a turn, and then someone gets to take their turn and it takes them 30 seconds because they've got to buy a Mystic, it was a bad hand. Well, this set has that sometimes. But those big combos are fun to watch, they're fun to play, they're very enjoyable to be like, okay, I don't have a great chance of pulling this off, but I'm going for broke. I'm going to do the big thing anyway. I really enjoy the balance of all of those, being encouraged to do all sorts of different factions and be as consistent as possible. It has some of the biggest combos in the game, like I said. Overall, a very powerful set, very fun. I recommend it to beginners. If you've already played deck builders and you're not like just getting into the swing of how they work, but you want to find out if Ascension itself is one of the things you want to play, this is where I start people. If they don't know how a deck builder works, I might play a game of the base set with them first before going to Realms Unraveled, just so that they can get the hang of buying, play area stuff, without things getting too crazy. Alright, another unique feature of Realms Unraveled is there are no single monsters, not a single one that destroys constructs. Constructs are protected in this set if you're playing it solo. It makes it actually a really good combo to mix with the base set, because there is a lot of construct destruction in the base set, and it kind of balances out any issues you might feel from constructs being safe. Next up is Dawn of Champions. At the beginning of the game, every player is assigned a champion. This champion will give them benefits for playing that, for buying or playing that type of hero, construct, whatever. Just gives them a faction orientation. You're either a Mechana, a Lifebound, a Void, or an Enlightened champion. And once you've reached enough favor by acquiring or paying for favor of that type, you unlock a champion. A champion hero, I guess I should say. A special hero that's unique only to you and can only be acquired by getting enough favor with that faction. Really cool effect, really like the faction effect and everyone having sort of a goal going into the game. Do I hate buy and try to keep you from getting your Mechana? Do I just go all in on my own theme and buy every Lifebound I see? Whatever it is, it's a really cool mechanism. They introduced multi-faction constructs. So just like Realms had multi-faction heroes, now we have multi-faction constructs as well. It makes the two of them very powerful in combination. They are both full-size sets. There are no more little sets anymore. The only three little sets were Return, Immortal, and Darkness. The other thing Dawn of Champions does, and I was kind of saving this to the end, is Rally. It's the very first introduction of a Rally effect. A Rally effect means if you buy the correct type of card, the correct faction, to set off a rally, or if the card itself had rally this, You flip the next card from the center row to replace it. If it's the correct type, you acquire or defeat it for free. Uh-oh, that means the monsters even have factions in this set. That's right, you can get faction favor for killing the right types of monsters. You can get free monster kills from having acquired something with the right rally effect. You can even set off rally chains. If you kill something that has rally mechana and that same card replaces itself and still has rally mechana, well, you can do it a second time, or a third, or a fourth, or once you've maxed out your 8 favor on your champion, every single one of the champions unlocks the ability to rally infinitely as long as it was originally their faction and the next replacing card was also their faction. They can combo off of each other. I can use a one-time use void rally to end up with a lifebound card that then sets off my lifebound champion rally. Yay, multi-faction stuff. Overall, a lot of swing and a lot of variability in how that plays out. It's a very fun and exciting set. I still recommend it for the enjoyment factor, but I don't like it for tournament play. It's just not balanced for any individual set or short set of events. Next up is Dreamscape. This is my personal second favorite set and the second set I ever bought. It introduces a draft at the beginning of the game for these Dreamscape cards that are unique only to you. You will be the only player who gets to buy those cards. There's only one thing in the game that can allow a player to interact with your own Dreamscape, and it's to steal a random card from it by killing a 7-cost monster. The rest of the time, every card in your Dreamscape is yours alone. It introduces a new resource called Insight. You must gain insight through the things that you play, the things that you buy, or whenever a Dreamborn hero or construct hits the center row, it will give an insight to all players. Any player who buys a Dreamborn will get another insight as a bonus. These things are the resource to buy out of your Dreamscape. They're really, really cool. It's just a new, unique thing. It gives you some goal to work towards. If your Dreamscape cards were all about void and killing, you're going to kind of focus your deck that way. If your Dreamscape was all about buying power, free things, big constructs, well, you might shape your deck that way. You don't have to. You're not locked in by those decisions, and many of the things you kill or acquire will have options to give you additional Dreamscape cards, so you'll be able to gain more options for how to spend your insight and save it for later. Really powerful set, really fun. It has some of the shortest number of rounds for a win when things go really well, and other times it stalls out, but never as long as the other sets. Other sets that had a stalled center row just go much longer than Dreamscape seems to. Last up on the app is War of Shadows. War of Shadows introduces light and day. Every card has one alignment. Either it's a light card on daytime or it's a dark card nighttime. If there are more dark than there are light, it is a night effect, and all cards that have a darkness power-up become more powerful. They might be things like gain 2 power, and if it's nighttime, gain an additional 2 power. They might be monsters that just give you 4 points, but if it's nighttime when you kill it, you also draw 2 cards. Huge boons if you can manipulate whether or not it's light or day when you play your cards. Same thing with the day cards. They also have very powerful effects, but they tend to be focused more on the buying power than the killing power. It's a really well balanced and thematic deck. I really like it. It encourages people to have more mixed decks where it's not all runes or all power. It gets a little bit of both. Many of the heroes and constructs have multi-resource buys. You require a certain number of runes and a certain number of power. It does make for some interesting combos off of cards that acquire a card of a certain rune cost or less, because you ignore their power cost. If it says you can acquire a card of rune cost 3, and it has a rune cost of 1 and a power cost of 6, yep, still free. Very nice stuff. Highly enjoy this one. It's not what I start people on, but it's very worth checking out. After that, on the not available on app is Gift of the Elements. It'll be available eventually. They're in development for that one. It has Empower effects where you can get rid of things you've already played that same turn as a bonus for buying certain cards. It has constructs that don't do anything unless you have multiple of the same type of construct, and then they start to gain bigger and bigger stacking bonuses. It has Infest, where you can give monsters to other players' decks or to your own. And when a monster ends up in your deck, it either does nothing when you play it, it's just a wasted card clogging up your mechanism, or if there's a correct event, it brings events back. It might give you power or runes or points or something. If you buy the right constructs, you'll be able to get some points for having played monsters or some benefits from having done that to kind of offset the penalties for having been infested a lot. There's even one card that allows you to use a specific type of infested monster in your own deck to gain a huge benefit. Really cool mechanisms. It's a super powerful set though. Has huge combos, really helps you shape your deck down thin quickly. Highly recommend Gift of the Elements. It's the one I'm most excited to add to my own collection here soon. And then the next set after that, and the most recent one that was released last year, is Valley of the Ancients. Valley of the Ancients introduces 3 temples: Temple of Life, Death, and Immortality, and keyword symbols that allow you to get them from doing special effects on your cards or by killing the right kind of monster. When you get the symbol, you acquire the temple. If you already have that temple and you get that symbol, you gain the Temple of Immortality and a bonus. If it's the Temple of Death, the bonus is being able to banish a card from hand or discard. If it's the Temple of Life, you also get 2 runes. Once you have the Temple of Immortality, you get once per turn to name any faction you want and gain rally for that faction for this turn. It brings back the rally from Dawn of Champions. So if I control the Temple of Immortality and I say rally Enlightened and buy an Enlightened card, if the next card to hit this in a row is Enlightened, I gain it. Really big combos, really big chains. It's a big balance issue on, do I want the temples early or late? Do I go for the most valuable cards that are just going to let me buy more cards and kill more monsters early and not have control of the temples, but I'll be able to get them later? It also balances out the first player, second player debate about which is better. First player has first crack at the best cards in the center row, but the second player has the last shot at the game and even has the ability to intentionally not use some of their cards to stall the game for one more big turn for themselves if they think they're going to gain an advantage by doing so. Well, in Valley of the Ancients, it seems the second player has the stronger advantage. The temples are worth 5 points each, and the Temple of Immortality is worth 10 points each. So, at the very end of the game, if you're controlling the temples, you get a huge point bonus. Going second and having the last crack at being able to steal the temples from your opponents is a huge swing in points. If you manage to steal all 3 temples, it's actually a 40-point swing in the game. 20 points your opponent doesn't have, 20 points you do have. Huge, huge effect. But going first gives you the ability to buy all of the temple symbols and maybe get a quicker start into the game. A lot of the constructs also have effects like when you play a Mechanic construct or when you have a temple in play. I think that's most of the idea of what happened in Valley of the Ancients. It's just all about those temples. And then here soon we have Delirium coming out at Origins in a little bit over a month. I believe it's June 15 and this is the release date. They have not 100% confirmed it will be available at Origins, but the release date is right in the middle of the event. So I'm very hopeful that it's going to be there and I can pick one up because I live in Columbus and I'm already going to be here. Delirium is supposed to bring back some of the Dreamscape stuff and expand on that. I am just really, really excited to be able to play that set. Alright, this was plenty of length for a general overview of what's different in the sets.